Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am back home and here in my usual home setup, and I can't believe I'm back already. This was the fastest trip I've ever made to DR. I kind of feel like, was I even just there? Like, did I really just spend $800 to be down there for a week? But I have just been so tired since I got back on Sunday. Like, even to make this video right now was it took like everything out of me to come on here and be like, okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and film because I need to get back into my groove. The first thing I wanted to address is I noticed that I've had a little like spike in subscribers over the past like week or so. So to all of my new subbies, welcome to the VBX Familia. Thank you for subscribing. I don't know how much of my previous videos you guys have watched besides the vlog videos, but I do a little bit of everything on this channel. I vlog here and there, but most of my videos are like talking on certain subjects. I also do now a lot more like cultural exploration type of videos, mainly on cultures on this side of the world, and then I do makeup. Actually, makeup is how I started my channel. So here and there, you'll see me drop a makeup tutorial. The guys, y'all need to watch it, of course. Unless you want to. So yeah, I do a little bit of everything. Another thing you guys will notice about me fairly quickly is I'm very middle of the road when it comes to a lot of things. I'm somewhere in between being conservative and kind of liberal. When it comes to like race topics, I'm in the middle somewhere. I don't know. Y'all will see what I'm talking about. Now, the second thing I wanted to address is for all of those that have submitted video requests. I still have some that I haven't gotten to that were sent to me last month, and I've gotten a few more since then. So at this point, I don't know in what order I'll be doing them. I'm probably just going to kind of mix them up by topic to kind of, keep the variety going. And I promise I will try to get to those as soon as possible. Like I said, once I get back into my, groove and recenter myself and get out of this little funk I'm in right now and my energy comes back, then I'll, start putting that work back in and, getting all your video requests out. And lastly, I just wanted to say to all of my Puerto Rican subbies, because I know I have a few of you guys out there. For those of you that have family that are living on the island, I hope that your families are doing well. I have, been hearing about the earthquake that recently happened over there. So prayers to you guys and your families that are on the island. Now, on to the topic of this video. So this trip to DR was a little different for me in that, this was my first trip going down there as like a YouTuber or whatever and vlogging. Now, in previous trips, I've always been one to take a lot of pictures, especially pictures of the family and things like that, but never vlogged. And I told somebody under a comment in one of my recent vlog videos that I feel like when you're vlogging, it actually forces you to be a lot more aware of your surroundings, because you're looking at things to vlog, you're looking at things that you find interesting and that you think other people may find interesting. So it really makes you pay attention to the details of what's around. So, that was pretty cool. I mean, it definitely made me go down there with like a different perspective. But at the same time, being on YouTube over this past year, and just hearing everything and seeing what other people are saying, and even what other Dominican YouTubers are saying, and just having all this stuff in your head, like, it kind of makes you question stuff sometimes, or even makes you doubt yourself. Because, I've always had my own concept, my own interpretation of how I believe Dominicans are, how I feel that we carry ourselves and what we're about and what we like and this and that, and even how the country is. So, this trip, I went down there with all the crap that I've been hearing in my head. So I wasn't sure if I should expect something different. Should I be expecting to see something different? But if anything, I will say this trip served to reassure much of what I have already believed. Okay, because some people on here will have you thinking that Dominicans are the most racist and hateful people on the planet, which is simply not the case. In my experience, being raised around Dominicans and well, my family mainly, because I mean the area I was raised in didn't have a lot of Dominicans, but luckily I do have a huge family. And not just that, but you know, I've been going back and forth to DR my whole life. So I've always had what I thought was a pretty good understandings of Dominican and the country in general. You guys, if you can hear my daughters in the background, ignore them. They're being loud right now. So yeah, you know, I've always like had a certain understanding of how we are. So like I said, this trip kind of reaffirmed that. So, you know, I was just really just taking in the beauty of the country. And it was also very interesting because I had never been to like the more southern part of the country, and just seeing like the desert areas, like that was like crazy. I was like, wow, this doesn't even look like the same country. I mean, there's so much diversity just in the like ecosystems and the landscape of the country in general. But I think what is most prominent to me is the diversity and like socioeconomic status among the people. Because if you guys watched all of my vlogs, I mean, in my first vlog on Santo Domingo, you guys saw that I stayed in a very nice, more upper class condo. And then, you know, you guys saw my family's house, which is pretty nice. But then when I went to the campo, to the countryside, you guys saw those people that are still living in what is, you know, the more typical third world country status. So there is a huge array of people that are living, you know, living a good life, and those that are still very poor. And at the end of the day, I think that is the biggest differences, I guess, or what's the word? That is the biggest like type of separation that you see among people. It's not so much a matter of race to me. And that is really what I find most interesting though, because the trend lately among a lot of Latino channels is this whole polarizing Eurocentrism versus Afrocentrism, and you have to be on either side, okay? You have to be for one or the other. And God forbid you're an Afrocentric or you get labeled that. Trust me, I know. Because when I first came on here, I had people calling me that. And this is the thing, right, when it comes to that. I don't believe that Eurocentrism or Afrocentrism are inherently bad things. I really don't. At the end of the day, I see both things as just a different perspective, a different lens through which you view the world. You either view the world and value the customs, the traditions, the ways of life of Europeans and whatever they have accomplished, or you view the world through the traditions and the customs and the way of life and the art or whatever of African societies. And, you know, that is what you, that's how you see the world, you know, through that lens. The problem, though, is that people take it to the extreme, okay? Especially here on this platform. And the other thing is, I feel like these ideologies also have to be within the proper, like, context. For example, I can understand, well, let's just keep it to, like, Latinos, for example, you know. I can understand people from Argentina, maybe. What's another country with a lot of white people, like Paraguay or Uruguay, whichever one of those guys it is. Even certain areas of Mexico that have a lot of white people. I could understand them being Eurocentric because at the end of the day, they are in their majority white, okay? Or I could understand like, you know, Black Colombians or like the Garifuna people or, I don't know, a lot of these other communities of that have really preserved their African culture. You know, they're very just Black. I don't know how else to put it. Like, I can understand them being, you know, very Afrocentric, you know. That makes sense to me. Even like, or like Black Cubans, you know. But when it comes to Dominicans, okay, since I'm Dominican, that's what I'm going to speak on. I just find it odd when I see Dominicans pushing too much one way, okay? Now, I'm gonna keep it real. I don't see too many Dominican Afrocentrics, okay? I don't. Um, yeah, that's not too much of a thing. I've seen a few here and there. Like on Instagram, mainly Dominican women that are, on the blacker side that are very, about their African roots, and that's great, cool. But the push that I see more is on the Eurocentric side. And now listen, if you're a more white passing European descent Dominican and you want to be Eurocentric, go ahead. Just like I feel like if you're a more African, black, Dominican and you want to be Afrocentric, go ahead. But what I don't agree with is trying to like push this ideology onto Dominicans as a whole, okay? And what I noticed, or not what I noticed, but what I was reaffirmed of, is that Dominicans on the island, most of them could give two shits about either of that. Like, they don't care, okay? Like, Dominicans aren't over there worrying about preserving their European heritage and aligning themselves with Spain and Spanish culture no more than they are worried about returning to Africa and just holding on and grasping onto that African culture, because at the end of the day, both of those roots combined make Dominican culture, okay? Dominican culture, Dominican people are a marriage of European and African roots. You can't have Dominican culture without one or the other, okay? So I don't understand why some of these YouTubers on here are so much on this Eurocentric push, okay? When it comes to Dominicans, okay? I'm not talking about any other group of Latinos, just Dominicans. And especially while I'm down there, the majority of what I see are tan and brown people. Like, that is literally everywhere that I went, that is what I saw. Now, of course, I didn't travel the whole DR. And I know that there are certain pockets of air or certain areas in which you will see whiter people, in other areas where you'll see very black people. But for the most part, okay, it's somewhere in the middle, like tan and brown, especially brown. Like, most of the people are closer to my complexion, at least that I saw. Okay, and I went to Bonao, I went to Santo Domingo, I went to Bani, Asua, Barahona, and that is most of what I saw. So to me, I feel like that's kind of silly, okay, to push this real Eurocentric ideology onto people that are quite melanated, okay? And I mean, in the fact that so many of the people fall in this middle range and they fall into like more the brown range, it makes sense considering our history and considering the fact that most of us are very mixed. I mean, when you have 500 years worth of people mixing and also given the particular history of DR, where those rigid racial barriers, were broken down quite early on in Dominican history. And so you have so many people mixing, it makes sense that hundreds of years later, the majority of the population falls somewhere in the middle, where they don't look straight up white, but they don't look straight up black. And at the end of the day, we know that black genes are dominant, okay? So that melanin runs strong, okay? So again, I don't get the push. I don't understand it. Most Dominicans are not worried about that. And going back to this difference in class, which if you want to talk about classism, I mean, that is definitely a thing in a lot of Latin America, I would say. I think that is definitely a real thing in DR as well. So you have people that are living in some of these very poor situations, okay? You think they're over here worrying about being Eurocentric or being Afrocentric. Even some of the more well-to-do people, they got their money, they're living good, they're having fun, they're eating all the good food that they want to eat, making trips and, just living their lives. You think that they are worrying about being Eurocentric or being Afrocentric. They're not. They're just not. Okay. At the end of the day, the common denominator that I have seen and that I have always witnessed among Dominicans, regardless of race, regardless of how rich or poor they are, is that all they're worried about is making money, having food to eat, and having fun, okay? Because Dominicans love to have fun, they love to party, they love to simply enjoy their lives. So why are certain people on here now trying to make everything about race, okay? Now, as I have discussed in previous videos, that's not to say that racism doesn't exist, okay? Racism exists everywhere in the world. But again, I don't feel that it is as rampant there as it is in other places. And again, when you have a population where so much of the population looks brown, tan, definitely more melanated, and white people are a minority, I just don't feel like it's just not that, it's not as big as a thing down there. It's just not. I personally don't feel that it is. And again, that's not to say little microaggressions don't exist, or that, colorism doesn't exist, or featureism and stuff like that. Which, side note, I don't know what is this obsession some Dominicans have with noses. This is something I've always noticed. And again, in this past trip, I was at the hotel in Barahona. Bartender, he was hitting on me or whatever. And he was like, "I really like your nose." I was like, who says that? Like, you have a guy hating on you. I don't know. Maybe they'll tell you your eyes are beautiful, or I don't know, you have nice lips, or your skin color, your hair, whatever. But nah, this dude was like, "I like your nose," and I've had that happen so many times to me where people have commented on my nose, or they just pinch it. I don't know. I don't know what the fascination is. But anyways, yeah, so it just made me realize once again how so much of the things that certain people talk about on this platform are just so irrelevant when it comes to the actual daily lives of Dominicans on the islands, okay? Now, if we want to talk about political issues, then I feel those are very valid, okay? If you want to talk about other, social, economic issues, yeah. But when it comes to the race thing, bro, like, I just feel like it's so irrelevant. Like, it really is. And I also see a lot of Dominicans saying, "Oh, that Dominicans are losing their culture and this and that." I'm like, where? From what I see, Dominican culture is still very alive and well. I still see everybody listening to merengue, bachata, and salsa. I mean, if you want to talk about dembow, are Dominicans losing their culture because of dembow? I mean, now granted, dembow isn't the most lyrically, what's the word? It's, some of the lyrics are trash, okay, whatever. Like, I don't like all of them, both songs. I like a lot of it more for the beat of it, not necessarily the lyrical content, okay? But that's just what the youth likes, okay? There's always going to be a genre of music that is more for the youth, that is more urban, that the youth are just more, that's what they like. Right now, dembow is what's in. Before it was reggaeton, So it is what it is, but I wouldn't take that as, Dominicans are losing their culture. Or this whole Dominican is being Africanized and blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't see it. I don't see it. As I've said in a previous video, the only thing that I see changing is more Dominicans like expressing their African roots, or like wearing their natural hair more and being more proud of wearing their natural kinks and curls and things like that. But that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing for a person to actually want to wear their hair the way it grows out of their head, okay? Or to embrace it, okay? And to not want to be in the salon every single weekend. I mean, as long as your hair is taken care of, okay? It's not like disheveled. But what's the issue, So that's one thing. And then this whole argument of the European aspect of our culture like disappearing. I'm like, oh my God, some of y'all are so pressed on this stuff. Like, it's not going anywhere. Like I said, you can't take away the European aspects, just like you can't take away the African aspects, okay? They're both as equally important, and it's what makes Dominican culture unique, okay? To take away our European influences would be, of course, to take away the basics like the language, the religion, a lot of our social customs, and like certain social interactions or etiquette or things that we do, like, besando la mano and things like that. That all stems from my European roots, and that's not going anywhere, okay? It's also some of, the instruments in the music, but at the same time, you can't take away the African, okay? Or you can't dismiss it or act like it's minimal, because some people on here will act like the African influence in Dominican culture is so minimal. And I'm like, bro, where? Okay. Like, to take away the African influences, okay, would be to take out some of the very essence of who we are. Like, I feel like our liveliness, our love to dance and to have fun, and our rhythmic music, and even our inclination to like certain types of other genres of music. I mean, that didn't come from the Europeans, okay? I mean, there are certain things that are, to me, they're obviously, they're African descent. So I don't know. At the end of the day, I feel like it's just that blend, okay? You can't leave out the Taino influences. They're what make our culture unique. So I don't understand why people want to like pull it apart or only be proud of a certain part of our culture. Like, why? Why are you trying to pull it apart? Just, why can't we as Dominicans just be proud of all of it? Like, why? So yeah, and like I was saying, that is what I see. Okay, I don't see Dominicans being, in the most part, Eurocentric. I don't. Just like I don't really see them being Afrocentric. At the end of the day, if they're anything, I would say some are nationalists. Others are more, I don't know, I guess could you call it ethnocentric? Like they're just more about their culture. They're about Dominican culture. Dominicans care about being Dominican, okay? That's what they care about. Every Dominican will tell you we are a mix of Spanish, African, and Taino. That is what we are. Some are more black, some are more white. Some even look a little more indigenous. But at the end of the day, we're just a blend. And as much as some of you guys out there that I've seen don't believe in race mixing, and you think it's a bad thing because it's diluting the purity and the blood, blah, 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 the bloodline, all that shit. Well, sorry to break it to you, but you're trying to reverse something that's been going on for 500 years, okay? Like, you can't just unmix everybody. Like, it's not going to happen. And you can blame our Spanish ancestors for that, because they're the ones that started that. They were the ones promoting miscegenation and race mixing and all that from the colonial days. So, I mean, and that's not just in DR. That's all over Latin America. So you want to be mad about this now? You want to complain about this now? Like, embrace it, bro. Embrace it. That's how I feel. Again, of course, everyone has the right to, I don't know, believe what they want to believe and procreate with who they want to procreate with. If you're a light-skinned, white-passing person, you want to have light-skinned and white-passing babies and marry somebody that's light and white-passing, that is totally your personal choice. Okay, just like if you're on the opposite end, you're black, you want to have a black wife or husband, have black babies, and continue your black lineage, go ahead. Like, I literally don't have a problem with either side doing that. I think anybody has the right to continue their racial or ethnic lineage if they choose to do so, okay? That is a personal choice. I just don't agree with trying to push that onto the greater society, okay? That is how I believe it to be. Because, I don't know, I guess just how I was raised. I wasn't raised to see so much of a distinction when it comes to race. My parents never talked about race, unless it was them, I don't know, experiencing something from like an American. But as far as amongst Dominicans, race was never a topic of discussion. It just wasn't, because that's not how they were raised. And they were raised in very mixed families. So yeah, I don't know. But anyway, well, overall though, my trip was great. I had such a fun time. And my parents may be going back this summer, so I may try to go back again. it was just very refreshing to be just back in that atmosphere and just, you know, being able to relax and um just see the DR that I've always known, to see the warm, welcoming, loving people that I've always known. You know, that was very like reassuring and reaffirming and just very comforting to me, you know. So anyway, that was it for this video. I'm sure I'm gonna get some dislikes on this because, you know, I got my haters out there. They won't say shit to me to my face, but they'll go back to their faves channels and talk shit, but it's all good. So as always, leave your thoughts and opinions down below. Again, welcome to all my newcomers, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.